1L grades have traditionally been the most important piece, the most pivotal piece in the big law firm hiring process, which starts officially at the beginning of your 2L year. So as you can imagine, your 1L grades are all that you have to go on. But what else is there? What other steps, what other mechanisms can you use to make yourself competitive? The next thing to focus on is the 1L Summer Internship. And what you want to focus on for your 1L Summer Internship is getting good substantive experience at a place that has the best name recognition you can find. And so the process for getting a 1L Summer Internship usually starts at the beginning of the second semester, so around January. Sometimes the applications are due at the end of December. And what those are going to look like are things like nonprofits, government agencies, and corporations. And so career services might have a list of places that have accepted interns in the past. There might be sort of a mini on-campus interviewing process for these internships, or it might just be you reaching out individually to these places to ask them if you can come and intern. Whatever the process is for your law school, just know that what you're focusing on is substantive experience that you can talk about in interviews later on. And again, the better the name recognition, the more the law firm who's interviewing you is going to know something about what you did. As much as you can help it, avoid taking non-legal jobs just because they pay you. I know that money is an important factor and that student loans are insane, but if you get a non-legal job or a non-substantive legal job for your 1L summer, it's going to be a big mark against you in those interviews because you're not going to have any substantive experience to talk about. You're not going to be showing them that law is really what you're interested in or what you're trying for, or that you are looking to challenge yourself in that way. And so as unfair as that might be, as best you can, try to focus on the experience you're getting and not necessarily the money they may or may not be paying you. What's happening now is sort of this phenomenon of a spike and a growth in 1L summer clerkships at big law firms. And so for these 1L summer clerkships, you may not have any grades to go off of. 1L summer clerkships have existed for a while, but they've always been a bit of a smaller player. So when I was in law school, I think maybe 2 to 3 to 4 of the 1L class actually got a 1L summer clerkship, and even then it wasn't a deal breaker for how you would do in the big law firm hiring process at the beginning of your 2L year. It was sort of a nice bonus. You made a lot of money that summer, but it wasn't a critical piece of determining how the longer game would play out. But now, since there is this growth in 1L clerkships, it definitely is worth mentioning and worth talking about. There's been an interesting recent development. So at the end of last year, in December 2018, NOW, or the National Association for Law Placement, withdrew its official guidelines for how 1L law school recruiting had to go. Before, they had an October 15th deadline for when law students could meet with their career services department. There was a December 1 deadline for when law students and law firms could have official contacts, and all of those guidelines are officially gone as of last year. And so this is actually going to be the first year when there's sort of a Wild West approach where anything goes. Now, in this context, there's a couple of important things to keep in mind if you are currently a 1L. One, I would immediately meet with your career service advisor because some law schools have their own rules, have implemented their own rules of 1L recruiting. Some law firms have implemented their own rules of 1L recruiting, and you need to know what those are so that you can be sure to respect them and not make any contact you're not supposed to be making. The second thing I would do is check out the NOW official list of big law firms that are offering 1L clerkships to give you an idea for the law firms in your area, the offices in your area that might be available. I'll link that in the description below. And the third thing, and arguably the most important, is to try to find 2Ls who had 1L law firm clerkships to ask what their strategy was, what their approach was, because they're going to have the most up-to-date information, specifically from your law school, specifically for the law firms in your area, because you're going to want to know when to apply, how to apply, what to include, and you don't want to be stepping on any toes or violating any rules that you didn't know exist. So because this system is so new and the process is happening for the first time this year, I would go ahead and do those 3 things before you start putting your applications together so that you can most effectively and efficiently use your time. Because of course, studying and doing well is still going to be your #1 priority throughout your 1L year. And if you are currently at a law school with these 1L recruiting guidelines, or you're applying to a law firm in your area that has already published these 1L recruiting guidelines, go ahead and link it below so we can start to see what kinds of rules and regulations and dates and application guidelines are out there to give people the most information that you can as you're going through this process. So that's 1L year. Your 2 main focuses are to get as high grades as you possibly can and to get the best 1L summer internship or clerkship as you possibly can.